Fuufu Ijou Koibito Miman. We all know how hard it can be to find a partner. First you have to meet someone, fall in love, be compatible, and all of that. But what if I told you that in this anime, there's a school that basically forces you to have a couple in order to graduate, and they even assign you to one of your classmates to practice how it's like to be married. Anyway, Japan, they're pretty weird. But do you know what's weirder? That you're still not subscribed to this channel. There are over 800 people that haven't missed a summary of their favorite anime. And you? What are you waiting for to subscribe? I'll give you some context so it's easier to understand. The protagonist of this show is a guy called Jiro, a low-profile teenager that plays video games all day and is a massive geek. There's also the popular boy called Minami, the annoying and popular girl Watanabe, who you could say is the second protagonist, and Shiori, Jiro's childhood friend. Oh, and last but not least, Sadaharu, the protag's geek friend. So, their crushes are as follows. Jiro likes Shiori ever since they were little, Watanabe likes Minami, and later on we'll learn who the other two are in love with. Let's talk about the most important matter, the class of matrimonial practices. It's something like this. In every class, every student is assigned a classmate, so that they live together and experience what it's like living with someone else and also get used to having a relationship. In Japan, boys in general are quite shy and have a hard time forming effective relationships, and due to this, the birth rate dropped by a lot. And logically, less couples equals less babies, and this is something that happens in real life. This concept introduced in the anime is basically to teach boys to have a partner and, with a little luck, meet someone so they fall in love and have children. But I should clarify that despite making them live together, they are not allowed to sleep together because this would become a hentai, and also because they are minors. Going back to the anime, Jiro clearly wants to be with his childhood friend so he can date her, and Watanabe wants to be assigned with Minami because she likes him. But unfortunately for them, they got together. Yes, Jiro got Watanabe assigned as his training wife, and to make things worse, Shiori got with Minami, generating two conflicts for our protagonist. First, he's worried that Shiori would fall in love with Minami because he's hot, and second, he hates Watanabe because she's unbearable, and now he has to put up with living with her. But not all is lost, because if his partner ranking goes up to an A rank, they can swap partners with someone who is also an A rank, and to go up the rankings, they must act like a real couple while a sensor detects their heartbeats, or something like that. And the more things they do as a couple, the better ranking they will have. To do this, the two of them intend to reach A rank to help each other. Watanabe knows he wants to be with Shiori, and conversely, Jiro knows she wants to be with Minami. So, Watanabe starts being flirty and hits on him to make him flustered, although the latter is just to annoy him a little bit, and all of that stuff. But everything gets out of control when Watanabe asks Jiro to kiss her goodbye when she's about to leave, and he interprets this as a kiss on the mouth, leaving Watanabe extremely confused because she apparently felt something special in that kiss. Some days later, their teacher sends for Watanabe and Jiro to get their attention because their ranking is too low, although Watanabe did not go with the teacher because she was out with Minami. And then we see an attempt from Shiori to get closer to Jiro. To increase their ranking after Jiro tells Watanabe what the teacher told him, she comes up with the idea of watching horror movies. But everything gets out of control, once again, because there was a storm outside and the lights went out. And because the rooms need electricity to open their doors, Jiro and Watanabe are stuck in the room, staying very close to each other because Watanabe was afraid of the storm and was already scared by the horror movies. After some flirting, Watanabe falls asleep on top of Jiro, and he says she looks adorable and also falls asleep, something that Watanabe heard, making her blush. One day, Jiro gets sick, and since Watanabe went out with some friends, she takes advantage of the situation and asks Shiori to take care of Jiro so they have some time alone. And they talk about that she's doing pretty badly with Minami since they are in E rank. That's the lowest of them all. And thanks to Jiro's and Watanabe's combined efforts, they are in B rank. Shiori confesses that she would have liked to have been assigned with Jiro, and he encourages her to increase her ranking to be able to make the swap. So, the good thing is that Shiori's not falling in love with Minami, but the bad thing is that they need to increase their rank to be together. Thanks to a tip from Jiro, Watanabe decides to make lunch for Minami so he becomes interested in her, and makes some more for Jiro so he can taste it and tell her if it's good. And Jiro says that it is, but that he personally likes his food a bit sweeter. Watanabe gets offended or angry or something, I don't know, and in a rude way, she says she doesn't care about that. What matters to her is that Minami likes it. Well, then why did she ask for his opinion? What an annoying girl. And the next day, after preparing more food for Minami, Shiori shows up to gift them some cakes she made for Minami, and she had some leftovers, stating that Minami likes sweet things, making Watanabe feel like an idiot, and she gets depressed. Jiro acts his part as a husband and tries to comfort her, telling her she's not to get sad and that she's pretty, and everyone would want to be with her. And suddenly, Watanabe gets on top of him and suggests doing the nasty. Completely out of nowhere, I don't understand this girl. Jiro gets her off of him and says that they should do those kind of things with the people they love, and that she likes Minami, which makes Watanabe feel bad or mad or offended. I don't know, someone explain please. The thing is, she tells him that he's right and that she likes Shiori, and that they should stop talking as a couple, making them distance themselves and stop talking for many days. Of course, their rank goes down as a consequence, and Shiori realizes that, so she goes to Jiro to ask him what happened, and he says simply that they had a fight. Shiori, in order to be with him, encourages him to make up with Watanabe and motivates him to go apologize, so they can both start from scratch. But not before Watanabe pranks Jiro by telling him she likes him, but it turns out it wasn't so much of a joke, and she really does like him, or at least is beginning to like him, since after the kiss he gave her, she couldn't stop thinking about him. After PE class, Watanabe and Jiro meet up with their respective crushes, and curiously, they ask them the same question. Watanabe, after Minami saves her from a box falling on her head while they were in the PE storage room, asks him if he plans on staying with Shiori in the marriage class, and he tells her yes, as long as Shiori also wants to, which makes Watanabe cry, and Minami approaches her to wipe her tears. Conveniently, Jiro's friend sees them and thinks they're kissing, and meanwhile, Jiro asks Shiori if she wanted to stay with Minami, and she simply says that it's something she would talk about with him and see if he agrees, but makes it clear that if she swapped couples, she would like to be with him. At that moment, Jiro's friend arrives to tell him what he saw, but Watanabe and Minami show up right at that moment, and everyone leaves with their respective partners. So Jiro's friend didn't get to tell him anything. Later in class, Sadaharu tells him that he saw Watanabe and Minami kissing, and it seems that Jiro doesn't care, but when he gets home and sees how Watanabe ignores him while he speaks to her, he comments about how she would rather be with Minami instead of him. Watanabe laughs and doesn't get what he means, and when Jiro tells her about the kiss, she says that never happened, and starts crying after saying that Minami is not interested at all in her, and Jiro hugs her to comfort her. After making fun of how he reacted after thinking that Watanabe had kissed Minami and telling him that her first kiss was with him, Jiro blushes a lot, and Watanabe starts being more affectionate. The next day, Jiro gets to be alone with Shiori all day since they coincided with some school assignments, and thanks to a friend of Shiori that advised her to confess to Jiro. She tries to kiss him, but doesn't have enough courage, so once again nothing happens. At night, Watanabe asks Jiro to call her by her name. For those who don't know, it is custom in Japan to call someone by their last name unless you have a certain level of trust and a relationship with them. And she asks this saying that she always calls him by his name, and so it looks like she's the only one in love. And when she realizes what she just said, she blushes and goes to sleep. But you guys know her subconscious betrayed her. It's evident she's fallen in love with Jiro. What I don't get is if she's fallen in love just because Minami rejected her indirectly, or because she actually wants to be with him. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Anyway, because there's an exam coming up and they have to pass as a couple, they both start studying at Jiro's request, since compared to Watanabe, he doesn't have very good grades. But because Watanabe seems to get bored of studying, she starts playing with Jiro by seducing him and causing them to almost kiss. But they don't do it because Jiro's nose started bleeding at a very convenient time. After passing the test and getting a high score, Shiori realizes that Jiro was slipping out of her hands, and her redhead friend advises her once again to confess her feelings now, or else it will be too late. And taking advantage that right in that very moment Shiori was hit extremely hard by a ball and ended up in a hospital, her friend calls Jiro so that he comes to visit her at the infirmary, and Shiori gets ready to kiss him with the excuse that she wants to practice her kissing. And just as they were about to kiss, one of Watanabe's friends enters the infirmary and sees two people in the stretcher, but she doesn't see who they were, and goes to tell Watanabe about it, thinking that they were banging. And since Jiro had just told Watanabe he was going to the infirmary, she drew her own conclusions. And yes, in the end Jiro and Shiori did kiss, but then he simply left feeling ashamed and stayed there. Upon arriving, Watanabe lies down next to Jiro, who had fallen asleep in the room, and the next day she implies they had sex and he doesn't remember, and he confesses that he's a virgin, so Watanabe stops feeling suspicious. Continuing with her plan to conquer Minami, Watanabe's friends make plans to go to a festival with other boys, and supposedly one of them was going to be Minami. But he doesn't make it because he has to work, and Watanabe gets depressed once again and begins to question who she should actually be with, either Minami or Jiro. And speaking of Jiro, Watanabe calls him while crying, and he runs to look for her but finds her sitting by the door, and without asking anything, he wipes her tears and comforts her by taking her to the balcony to see the fireworks. A few days later, Jiro meets Shiori again, whom he didn't see ever since they kissed in the infirmary, and due to a misunderstanding, Jiro thinks that she only wants to be friends despite the fact that they kissed, so they stop talking. In any case, thanks to the vicissitudes of fate, they all get a summer job. By that I mean Jiro, Shiori, Minami, and Watanabe. And not only do they all get a job, but they will also work in the same place, which is some kind of hotel or cabin where they have to attend the tenants. Now, I don't know if you've watched High School Musical 2, but it's basically the same job. Once there, they both spend time with the boy and girl they like respectively, but at night, Watanabe decides to show a bikini to Jiro so that he looks at her more and pays more attention to her. All of this to annoy him and make him uncomfortable. Although she kind of does that sort of thing seriously, even though Jiro thinks she's just messing with him. Anyways, they get found out and are left in a very compromising situation as always. Jiro's pee-pee gets hard, but he passes out and they don't do anything. Thanks to the fact that Jiro's friend is a brother of everyone's boss, he helps Jiro so that in the nightly activity for the employees, which is basically a group tour, he can go with whoever he wants, and Jiro asks to be with Shiori, and consequently, Watanabe gets to be with Minami. But during the tour, all of the couples reach the finish line except for Watanabe and Minami, because they got separated, and Minami lost sight of Watanabe, even though everyone trusts that they will arrive since it's not a big or dangerous place. They go to their cabins, but Jiro wants to go look for Watanabe, and Shiori accompanies him. After a while, Minami finds Watanabe and she uses that moment to confess, but Minami says he can't reciprocate because he likes someone else, making Watanabe sad once more, but at the same time making her decide to go for Jiro. And am I the only one who sees something wrong with this? I mean, now she wants to go with Jiro only because the other guy rejected her. She's so ungrateful. Anyway, in the same dimension, but in a different timeline, Shiori is also confessing to Jiro and basically makes him choose between her or Watanabe, and well, he kisses her, and as always, nothing more happens. Since it's summer already and each one is on vacation in their homes, Jiro comes across Shiori and she invites him home, but he doesn't dare to ask her about the kiss because he still wasn't sure of who he actually liked. After that, Watanabe asks Jiro out and he doesn't take her seriously, but he slowly realizes that it's a real date and that she wants to be with him. And while they were going to one of those Japanese temples or sanctuaries to make wishes, they meet with Shiori, and since both girls know they want Jiro, Shiori asks to accompany them, and she makes some kind of race with Watanabe to see who can keep Jiro. Or at least that's what I understood. And the season ends with the three of them asking for a wish with Jiro in the middle, and each girl by his sides, implying he still has to choose one of them. Conclusion, that's all for now. It's obviously an open ending for another season or maybe more. I invite you to tell me in the comments what you think of Watanabe and Jiro. Who should he stay with? And of course, remember to subscribe to not miss out on the summary for your favorite anime. And if you want, you can tell me in the comments what anime would you like me to make a summary on. Well, that's all for today. See ya!